Hello everyone, and welcome back to BGA TVHT, the show where we do gaming commentaries every other day. And on today's episode, I have a massive swollen thumb. It's very realistically swollen, as you can see. Ha, tricked you, it's not. Anyway, today, we're finally back, and yeah, it's been a few videos, probably like a week or two, actually, as well. And as you can probably hear, I'm feeling a bit better today. Not completely better, but I'm not as terrible as I was in the last Infinite episode. So anyway, today we're going to be reviewing Detective Pikachu, the movie, by the way, not the game. So, you know, my endgame review didn't really go as well as I had hoped, and it ended up being like 30 minutes long, and I made a plot synopsis with too many errors, and that was like the first day I've seen it. Well, with Detective Pikachu, I saw it last weekend, so, yeah, good luck for me doing that. So I've decided I'm going to change up my style a bit from now on when I'm doing movie reviews and not make a plot synopsis at all. So yeah, enjoy not having a plot synopsis. Alright, so the first part of this review will be talking about my thoughts on the plot. So the plot of Detective Pikachu, to give you an extremely short summary, is basically this. Tim's dad dies in a car crash, and Tim goes to, what is it, Rhyme City? Is a really weird name. I don't know. I think it's a Pokemon reference or something. Like I swear Rhyme is a Pokemon. Anyway, so he goes to Rhyme City and ends up meeting his dad's old Pokemon partner, Pikachu. Well, it's not exactly Pikachu, because he can communicate with it. Well, apparently that's not normal in that version of the Pokemon world, and they go off because Pikachu believes that Tim's dad is not dead. And that's basically the plot without any spoilers or detail. So from this point on in the video, there will be spoilers. So if you want to end right here and go watch the movie, then go do that. Because, I mean, I just kind of summarized the plot in probably less than you'd find in the Google box when you just search up Detective Pikachu. But anyway, in 3, 2, 1... Okay, so actual spoiler plot talk here now. I'm not going to be obviously, you know, like, summarizing the whole plot or anything. That'd be stupid, and I already just kind of did that a little bit. So let's just talk about a few of the plot points and scenes that I liked and disliked. So first we go with the positive. The scene I liked the most was the one in the stadium. You know, the one where Pikachu fights Charizard and then the gas gets released? That one. I thought that was awesome. That was like the only true Pokemon battle. It was Pikachu versus Charizard. And even then, Tim kind of got in the way of that a little bit. You know, they showed that in the trailer too. It is just kind of like, eh. I really liked it though. And, it, you know, as I said before, it was the only true Pokemon on Pokemon battle, because most of the other battles in this movie were actually Pokemon on human, which is really, really weird. I have never known a Pokemon movie or TV show that had a majority of Pokemon versus human fights. And obviously this is not Pokemon's first foray into the movie genre, of course. They've had tons of movies like Pokemon the first movie, and they've had a plethora of movies for every generation they make an anime out of. You know, which I think is like all of them. But this one had the least Pokemon action, and when I say Pokemon action, I mean like traditional, you're using your powers, or it's like a Pokemon on Pokemon with a trainer doing something of some kind. And this was the only part, because, you had Tim kind of coaching Pikachu a little bit, and then that kind of gangster guy who was like Charizard's owner or something. I don't know. It was a little blurry, and maybe I just don't remember it correctly. But I actually think that guy was one of the cooler characters in the movie. Oh, okay. And that scene also introduced my segue into the next plot point. This one, that Ditto, what I don't know what the Pokemon's name is, but it's like the globby one. God, I sound so stupid saying this, but if you've seen the movie, you know the one. It's the one that like morphs into that woman with like the pink hair, and then was actually morphing into like the son of the Rhyme City creator guy. Yeah, I don't know the Pokemon's name, but I do know that for the longest time during that movie, I was excited because I thought that was Jesse from Team Rocket, and I was like, oh my gosh, that R is Team Rocket on the vial, and the whole reveal at the end is going to be that this was all Team Rocket, and that's going to set up a sequel with Team Rocket. But then no, it was just a Ditto. Or not a Ditto, what? Maybe it is a Ditto. Maybe it is. And I'd have to go. That's what my brain is defaulting to. I actually might think it is, but that's besides the point here. But anyway, I just thought it was going to be super cool and lead up to this huge reveal that like Team Rocket was actually behind it all and behind the scenes working with everything. Well, actually no, they weren't. And that is actually why I thought that was the most disappointing part of the movie. Was that because I have actually watched I've watched my fair share of Pokemon anime and played a little bit of the games too. Pokemon Yellow and Pokemon X at the same time. Yeah, at the time it was the newest game, and that was also at the time the oldest game, and will forever be the oldest game because it was the first one. Yeah, so I had played those, and I knew Team Rocket, not from the game, but from the anime. They were actually my favorite characters. I mean, I love them, and I still love them. I mean, I actually would like to go watch Sun and Moon when I'm done watching the current anime I'm watching, which I actually probably will. But I really thought that was going to be Jesse, and those R's were Team Rocket from the second. That R even looked kind of like it could be a Team Rocket logo, but no. It just was an R. So, yeah. Then the final kind of plot point I want to go over is the continuity of this movie, because it's a little bit confusing if you don't kind of know. It was only kind of mentioned for a second. I can't remember. I think it was right at the beginning of the movie, when they're experimenting on Mewtwo in the chamber, and they say, this is the Mewtwo that escaped from the Kanto region. Of course, if you didn't know, they're talking about Pokemon the first movie. Yes, that means this is actually a sequel to Pokemon the first movie, which is an animated movie, and it was, by the title, the first Pokemon movie. Now, obviously, this already holds some problems, like, if you're going technicality, how can this be a really super detailed Pokemon world in the same universe as a movie that has the same art style and everything as the anime? Well, there was also this one when they were kind of recapping the world and saying, like, oh, the Pokemon Leagues of each region. I thought there was this little cameo of Red in there from the original Pokemon game. I thought he was in there for like just maybe a second, and it was really, really nice. But anyway, yeah, that's the whole plot thing. And now I'm gonna get into Pokemon design next. So, Pokemon design. Well, let me just say, this is the best Pokemon have ever looked in their entire history. I don't care what you say about the anime. I don't care what you say about the games. This is hands down the greatest looking Pokemon of all time. It doesn't look weird like Sonic in the Sonic movie. It doesn't look bad like some of the other CG movies sometimes, which you don't really get a bad looking CG movie anymore because they just look too good in general. You get just a bad movie in general then. But, these Pokemon do look incredible, and they do look like they belong in this world, not just something that the CG team put in there afterwards. And I thought that some of the actors did a really good job at acting around the Pokemon, and also the animators did a really good job with at least like Pikachu, because in this movie, if you didn't know, Pikachu has kind of like fur, which I don't think he ever has before. Unless he does in Sun and Moon, but I don't think he does. Then he has fur, and I think at some point it got stroked, and it was really reactive, and I really liked it. And if that scene doesn't exist, well, I just made that up in my head. But yeah, it was just good. The Pokemon looked good, and I was really immersed in the whole Pokemon thing, if you know what I'm saying. Well, the next part of the kind of Pokemon-esque section of this review is definitely going to be about the scene with the big turtle guys. Now, I completely forgot their name. They were actually a bit forgettable, because, yeah, just a bit forgettable. But I actually thought like something crazy was happening because of Psyduck Soundwaves, because right before the scene with the big turtle guys, Psyduck had finally gotten his moment that kind of didn't pay off at all, because it was supposed to be like, oh, if Psyduck gets too stressed out and he's like a ticking time bomb. But then he actually goes off and literally nothing happens. Except unless you count that as the turtle things waking up. Well, the turtle things in general, let me just say, pros, they're big, they're cool looking, they have grass and trees. Cons, they're big, they're not very exciting, and they're kind of lame. Yeah, I mean, they really don't do anything. If you take a step back and look at that entire scene, all they did was literally just stand up and sit back down again. Now, I mean, the way they portrayed it was really good because they made it look really cool, and even had some extremely unrealistic shots, like the human characters jumping off heights that should have clearly made them splatter like an egg cracking on the ground, and making it, and it was exciting, but it kind of defied logic and kind of took me out of the movie for a second. Yeah, but I got back into it because they looked so good, even though they were kind of the most boring aspect in terms of Pokemon in the movie. They were good. They were good. Because at least for most of that scene, they keep you in a suspension of disbelief. At least for me, where I thought either like Psyduck doing things had caused hallucinations, or I thought that something was happening because Psyduck did that thing, and like the whole earth was reacting. But it turned out no. And I mean, that's fine. What they did was okay. I would have preferred them to honestly do something better, but that was fine too. The next section, we will be talking about that ending. So, the ending. Well, it was alright. And I don't mean the ending. I mean like the end battle sort of thing. I mean, they showed some of it in the trailers, which is never a good thing. You should never show it in the trailers. I mean, come on. That's like taking away one of the more exciting parts of the movie anyway, and showing it in the trailer, but just why? Why would you do it? And I'm just gonna say, the ending was not good. I thought that there was gonna be some sort of special relationship between, like, Tim and Pikachu that allowed them to communicate. But no, it's just because Tim's dad was inside, or Ryan Reynolds was inside Pikachu. Now, it sounds wrong, but I know. It's just, like, it was so disappointing. They could have set up something, but they didn't. And so what do you have now? You have Tim, you have Ryan Reynolds, and you have a Pikachu that doesn't talk and has no personality, because that personality has been transferred to Ryan Reynolds. And clearly, if we're staying with the theme of Rhyme City for a potential sequel, then, gosh, they just don't have anything. What I will say is that it did have a sort of satisfying conclusion. I wouldn't say the most satisfying conclusion I've seen, but it did have some form of it. Well, yeah, the ending wasn't great, and they didn't set anything up with an end credit scene, so, well, I mean, why would I expect them to do an end credit scene? I mean, this isn't the MCU. Well, there's actually been a joke going around, like, the Nintendo Cinematic Universe is coming, with, like, the 2022 Mario movie made by Illumination, the Detective Pikachu movie, even the Sonic movie in there. Throw it all together, along with Mega Man, Metroid, Legend of Zelda, all that, Super Smash Bros., Mario vs. Sonic, and you got the Nintendo Cinematic Universe. Like, I could see it happening, maybe, if movies continue to do well. Gamers have honestly been itching for a good video game movie, and this is less of a video game movie because Detective Pikachu wasn't really a video game movie. But anyway, I think it is time for the conclusion. So, the conclusion. Detective Pikachu is alright. It is not the greatest movie. It is not the worst movie. It's not in the middle. It's more on the good side. I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't even say I'd say it's in the range of okay. It's definitely one of the better video game movies, though not to the level of some of them. Now, potentially, because one thing I neglected to mention this whole time was that this movie was really slow. Like, this was a really slow movie. Much slower than I would actually have intended. And I wouldn't have made it this slow either. But this is one thing that the Sonic movie, of all things, could possibly one-up this movie on. Action. Because I think the action in this movie, except for the stadium scene, which I detailed in an earlier section, was just lackluster. And the Sonic movie does have a potential to be a more enjoyable time, despite how it looks, and maybe even despite the acting, or how generic or cliche it is, to be just a more fun time for a general audience overall. Even people who don't necessarily know who Sonic is, which of course isn't the core audience they're going for, at least I hope not. I mean, that'd be really weird. But just, I think that they really, what they need to do is just stick with it and stick with it. What am I even trying to say? What I mean is the Sonic movie could actually be more enjoyable than Detective Pikachu. Not better. I'm not saying better, just saying more enjoyable because of just how much more action and excitement there will be. So, without further ado, I guess that's about it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. And this is Brandon from Big McLargy Gaming signing off. Goodbye!